I wanted to make a video here because the background is really nice. You see my lovely backpack and travel gear back there for whenever I travel. I think that suitcase is still full of stuff. I know I look different than I did 5 years ago. I'm bigger now. I'm overweight. And I know it's pretty obvious, so let's just let that cat out of the bag. So I know I look different. I know my face looks bigger. But I'm still me. Ever since I graduated grad school 5 years ago, I've gained a bunch of weight. I've gained about 50 pounds, 40 pounds. And my diet hasn't changed. I think my activity level changed. I'm gonna look in the camera. I think my diet didn't change. My activity level did change. I went from being pretty active to being pretty sedentary. I started going to yoga yesterday for the first time in a year. I just went ahead and paid for a month because each class costs $23 and a month costs $108. So that's, I'm gonna try to go 3 days a week. I'm gonna try to keep it up. But anyway, I graduated from grad school in December of 2020. I made a video about my experience in grad school. I've made several videos about that. If you want to hear more about that, just let me know. But I'm having a here's my beautiful necklaces. So I graduated in December of 2020. I left school physically in May of 2020. I left where I went to grad school, the town that I went to grad school, in May of 2020, and then I graduated in December of 2020. And my life has changed completely since then. So I've been afraid to make a video for the last 5 years because of the weight that I've gained and how I look, and I don't like the way I look, so I've been afraid to get on camera. The funny thing is I used to think I was fat, and now I really am. Oh, pardon me. But so in May of 2020, I moved in with my dad, and he lived in Franklin, Tennessee. And I lived with him for the summer, and then things weren't working out there, so I moved in with my mom, and she lived in Brentwood, which was about 15 minutes away from my father's house. My mom was falling a lot. She couldn't stand up. And I took care of her. And it was hard living with her because I didn't have a good relationship with her before I moved in with her. And my mom was an alcoholic, and I didn't really like her. And I never really got along with her. So it was hard to move in with her. But my dad's old recording studio was completely empty, and it was soundproof. And I brought my mattress, which we stuffed into my dad's car. And we brought my mattress down there. She bought me a bed frame. She bought me a couch. I had a TV that I'd brought from grad school. And I made a little apartment down there for myself, and it was totally soundproof. And my mom would fall a lot, and she would cry for me, and I wouldn't hear her. For one thing, because the place was fucking soundproof, and for another thing, because I would always have my headphones in. One time she fell into the bathtub. She would often fall when she would go to the bathroom. She had her little recliner in in the living room, and she'd go from there to the toilet, and there to the toilet, and there to the toilet, at just every couple of, every like 30 minutes. And she could barely make it to the toilet. And she would fall into the bathtub. And one time she yelled for me like for like half an hour. And I didn't go upstairs because for one thing I didn't hear her, and for another thing, she was making me dinner, and I didn't want to go upstairs just, making her think that the only reason I was coming upstairs was just to make sure that dinner was ready. So I went upstairs finally, and I saw my mom in the bathtub, and I was like, what the fuck are you doing in the bathtub? And she's like, I fell. I've been calling for you for the last half hour. Where have you been? And I was like, I'm so sorry, Mom. I didn't hear you. And I got her a pillow, and I called 911, and we got the fire brigade to come up the 113 flights of steps to pick her up and bring her to a chair. Eventually, she went into the hospital in December of 2020. I got a job at a coffee shop called... It's now called Rambling Joe's. It once was called Ugly Mug. It was a great job because I got to sit all day long, except for when there were customers, and there was a drive-through. Nobody really cared if we sat down for the majority of the day, and I just got to fuck around on my computer all day. Of course, I would take care of customers, and whenever we would have our headphones on, and whenever the drive-through rang, I would get up and take care of that and make the drinks and everything. And we had closing duties, and I worked about 20 hours a week at that store. It was in West Nashville, which I'd never been to before. I love the Nations now. It's called the Nations. West Nashville is called the Nations. I go there as often as I can, and I worked there for a year and 8 months while I was living with my mom's house. And my mom got sicker and sicker, and she was in the hospital, and then she was in a couple of nursing homes, which she tried to get out of. When people are dying, they often will get paranoid and get afraid that people are trying to kill them. She never thought I was trying to kill her, but she thought her sisters were trying to kill her. She thought the doctors were trying to kill her. She thought the nurses were trying to kill her, and that's normal. She was also very OCD. She came home in December, and I was devastated because I'd been living at her house for like a month by myself, and it was really nice. And they said and my Aunt Alice said, your mom's coming home, and I was like, God damn it. And so she came home. I thought she was going to be comatose. But they brought in a hospital bed for her, put her in the living room. And when she came home, she was up and about going, move this, move that, move this, move. And she looked like a Holocaust survivor. She was really, really skinny in the last year of her life. She kind of looked like I do now in the years before she died. She had puffy cheeks, and she was a bigger lady. She wasn't huge, but she was just overweight like I am. So she was in that hospital bed for 7 months, and she was hallucinating. She was in lots of pain. She was scared. She knew she was going to die, and the doctors had given her, I think they had given her 6 months to a year to live. And her sisters, one of her sisters used to live here and would come every day to see her and get her groceries, and I would go out every day and get her groceries, which I hated to do. But I got free rent, and my mom actually was very nice enough to give me her credit card to use for gas and groceries. If I wanted to go out to eat, or if I wanted to go traveling, I had to use my own money, which was fine. But so long as I was home, and if I cooked at home, everything was free. And I only could use the gas money for driving to work, not like driving on a vacation or just driving frivolously. My mom was very generous that way, and she let me live there for free. And the apartment that I lived in downstairs was huge. It was like 4 rooms, and it probably would have cost about $2,000 if I wasn't her daughter. So I saved some money. I made $10 an hour at the coffee shop, and My mom would wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning, excuse me, screaming at the top of her lungs that she was going to die and that she didn't want to die. And she had 24/7 health care, which cost a ton of money. It cost about $600,000 to give her 24/7 care. The nurses would sometimes abuse her. Like they wouldn't change her. She wore a diaper, and she had to be fed because she couldn't use her hands or feet. For the last 7 months of her life, she had alcoholic neuropathy. That's what she died of. Neuropathy is a nerve disease, and you can get it from drinking too much. My boyfriend has neuropathy in his legs, and he says it's just constantly, it just constantly hurts. It's like pins and needles. And that happened because he died twice. He was in a coma, and when he got out of the coma, his legs just didn't come back the way they should have. Oh my God, excuse me. I have acid reflux, so excuse me. But anyway, I was miserable. I was suicidally depressed. I thought I would never get out of my mom's house. I started having anxiety attacks in May of 2021. And I got them because of the second COVID shot. I made a video about that. And so then my mom got really sick and moved into hospice. She was there for 5 days. She was comatose. And I couldn't tell her that I loved her. I couldn't tell her that I forgave her because she never apologized to me for her behavior when I was a kid. And I've heard that the last thing to go is your hearing. So people were telling me, go tell your mother that you love her and that you forgive her, and I couldn't do it. And my family members were all mad at me. They thought I treated my mom very poorly, and I really did the best I could. I was so miserable myself. We were both miserable. But her sisters and her cousins, her female cousins, would always come to the house. It was like a 5-bedroom house, 3 stories. So I had the downstairs to myself. There was a guest room in the downstairs, and then there were 2 bedrooms upstairs. So there were plenty of rooms for people to come stay in, and that really helped Mom. And she always wanted me with her, and we would watch a movie together every night, and I hated watching movies with her. I would want to just go downstairs and watch a horror movie, which she didn't like. But to be honest, my mom was just annoying. She was an annoying person. She was hard to love. I have a lot of thoughts about my mom. That's not what this video is about. Anyway, she died August 11th of 2021, I think, the same day that Robin Williams died, except for Robin Williams died in 2014. And I was actually in California. I was in Oakland when he died. I was actually over the bridge from his house where he killed himself, and I could have driven to his house and laid flowers on his driveway. I didn't, for some reason. Excuse me. So then after my mom died, I stayed at the house for 9 months. I stayed at the house for 6 months by myself. And then my sister and her husband moved in with me for 3 months, and they cleaned the house out. My sister was very angry at me for not helping her. I tried to, but I wasn't in good physical or emotional shape to help her. We could have just hired a company and had them do it for her, but she felt like she had to have some kind of closure, and I just wanted to burn everything. And it was stupid for her to clean the house out because we wound up throwing everything away because neither of us have houses in which we can store stuff, and I wasn't going to store any of my mom's stuff. And my sister lives in Bali, and she's always traveling, so excuse me. Mom left us some money when she died, and that was very kind of her. She could have left it all to my sister. She could have used it all. So I quit my job at the coffee shop, and for about 2.5 years I didn't work. And the time that I lived with my sister and Thoth, my brother-in-law, at Mom's house, and they cleaned it out, I was looking forward to it very much, but it was really hard. It was hell, actually. It was really difficult. My sister and I don't really get along anymore, which is too bad. That's putting it lightly, but that's not what this video is about. So I'm finding myself kind of short of breath these days. But anyway, so I moved into this apartment. I live in Antioch, which is 30 minutes away from, it's east of Nashville. It's southeast of Nashville, close to Murfreesboro, 20 minutes south of downtown Nashville, 10 minutes south of the airport. Very convenient location. I love this apartment. And my family actually wanted to move me into a home when I was living at my mom's house by myself. I was so depressed and suicidal and anxious that I was having so many panic attacks that they wanted to move me into a home, and I refused. And my friend Jim, who's my saving grace, said he said, you need to move into an apartment. And I was like, how can I afford that? He's like, you can. And so I did, and I've been living here for 3 years. It's been 3 years as of May 10th, and I'm gonna be here for at least another year. I have a boyfriend, like I said earlier. His name is Nick. He's an artist. He kind of looks like a vampire. He's got long, dark brown hair with like bright blue eyes and a beard. His hair is like 2 feet long. He's really sweet. He suffers from several physical ailments because of drinking and doing stuff like that in the past. But he's mended his ways, and he's a good guy. I met him on Facebook dating on October 21st, 2024. So I've known him for 7 months, about 7 months. And I asked him to be my boyfriend on January 26th, 2025. And he said yes. And we love each other very much, and we're very similar. He's a very hard worker. I'm not. He's really sweet and kind and lets me vent. He's always there for me, and I'm always there for him. And he lives in Kentucky, and he's famous. He's a famous horror and fantasy artist. He travels all over the world doing art shows, and he's known all over the world, and he makes his living as an artist, which is really cool. But he's very sweet. I kept waiting for like the other shoe to drop, for like him to start being an asshole to me, and he never has. He always says, what you see is what you get with me. So get more comfortable here. He's really sweet. He's really, really sweet. We talk every day. We text every day. we've video chatted several times. He's really lovely, and I've bought lots of his art. I was working for Uber for a little while as a driver. I got a new car. I got a car that drives itself, which is awesome, and it gets really good gas mileage. And I've traveled quite a bit. From September 2024 to January 2025, I was traveling every month. I was trying to travel before that, but I couldn't because of my anxiety attacks. I would have anxiety attacks in the terminal. I'd have them on the plane. I'd have them driving. I'd have them in hotels. And I just couldn't travel. I couldn't really do anything. But like I've said in other videos, in the last 7 months, I've only had 3, and only one was long. So in September of last year, I went to Cincinnati to see my old friend David in a play called Fat Ham, and I hadn't seen him in a couple of years. Then at the end of the month, right before I went to London, I went to St. Louis to see Billy Joel and Sting in concert. That was really fun. It would have been more fun if, like, my sister had been there, or if I had known Nick and he'd come with me. And then on October 1st, I went to London for a week, and I saw 8 shows in 6 days. I used to be an actor, so I'm not anymore, but I used to be an actor, so I love going and seeing live theater. I got to see The Play That Goes Wrong, Phantom, White Rabbit, Red Rabbit, which was done by a different performer every night. I got to see Jason Isaacs in that, who played Lucius Malfoy in Harry Potter. And I was right up front. That was really fun. I got to see Oedipus by Robert Icke, who wrote my MFA thesis, Oresteia, and who I got to meet at my grad school. What else did I see? I saw Waiting for Godot, or Godot as they call him. Yeah, I saw a bunch of plays. And then I went to Madrid to visit my friend Scott, who is a Scotsman, and his wife is Spanish. They've been married for 30 years, and Scott is a film actor. He used to be anyway. He's a professional film coach, writer, and director. His wife knows like 7 languages. He knows only 2. He's a really nice guy. He's hard on me, but he's a great guy. We're very close. We met on Reddit in October of 2023, and we became really close, and we would have video chats all the time, acting coaching sessions and stuff. We have been working on a solo show for me for forever. He's very busy, so he's very witty and clever and funny. He's very, very funny. He can do lots of different accents. And I used to be in love with him, and he knows this. But anyway, so that was lovely. They invited me out to dinner. I took them out to dinner in their neighborhood. They walked me around the Calle de Mayor, which is the center of El Centro in Madrid. I'd never been to Madrid before. And I'd never been anywhere but London. I went to London when I was 16. So it had been 20 years since I'd been abroad. And I realized that if I wanted to go abroad and if I wanted to see Scott, that I'd have to do it on my own dime. I couldn't, and I also couldn't wait for anybody to come with me. I just had to go. And it was kind of a spur of the moment decision. I was just like, fuck it, I'm going to go to London and Madrid. Um, so we went out to dinner. Scott got a lot of meat. He loves meat. Um, uh, then we went around Calle de Mayor. Then I asked them if I could come back to their apartment, which was on the fifth story, no elevator. And I stayed there until 3, 4 in the morning talking to them. Excuse me. And then the next night, Scott invited me to a film premiere. It was all in Spanish, and he translated for me. And then we went out to dinner with a couple of their friends who all spoke Spanish, and Scott sat next to me and did coin tricks for me, and entertained me. And then the second to the last night that I was there, they invited me over to their house for dinner. They made me turkey, and I showed them some videos of me singing, and they were like, why do you want to be a mime? You need to be a singer. They were both very impressed, and Scott was like dancing around the apartment, like all jittery, being like, you're so good. Like, what? I don't know anybody else who can sing this way. Like, what are you doing? You need to be a professional singer. Which was really nice. And we talked again until 3 or 4 in the morning. And then I went home. And then in December, I went to New York for a week, the week before Christmas. I got to see my favorite clown, Bill Irwin, who I made a video about 5 years ago. I got to see him in a play called Eureka Day. And I saw several other shows while I was there. I went to the New York Public Library at Lincoln Center, and you can get a library card, you can get a temporary library card, and watch like most any show that's off Broadway, that's not on Broadway anymore, for free. They have them all on tape. I saw Beauty and the Beast. I saw the original cast of Phantom with Michael Crawford and Sarah Brightman and Steve Barton. There's several other shows that I want to see there, but it's very easy. It's a secret gem of New York for a theater person. And I saw a bunch of plays there. It was way too cold. And I'm not in shape, so walking was really difficult. And I forgot a fucking jacket. I didn't bring my jacket, and I couldn't get one while I was there for some reason. So it was really nice to see Bill. I got to meet him backstage twice. I didn't get to go all the way backstage, but I got to go into the alley. Excuse me. Where the doorman is, and I got to see him, and at least I got to get out of the chill. And the reason why I call my channel now Junius of the Theater is because that's what Bill called me. He was like, oh, hey everybody, this is Junius of the Theater, and I was like, that's what I'm gonna call myself. So that's my new instead of Junius is Theater, it's Junius of the Theater, in tribute to Bill Irwin. And then at the end of January, I went to Hattiesburg, where I went to grad school. And I got to see my friend Garrett and his band. I got to see my friend Wes, who used to run the scene shop at my grad school. And I also got to see my friend Emma, who's now a nurse, and she was in my Theater 100 class, Theater 110 class, which was beginning acting for non-majors in my second year of grad school. And we're still friends. I hadn't seen Garrett in about 5 years. I've been to Hattiesburg a couple of times to see Wes and a couple other friends, but I would never reach out to Garrett because he's married with a baby and he's expecting twins. So I was like, he's working full time, and I was like, there's no way that he has time. And he was also working a second job at the time, so I was like, there's no way he has time to hang out with me. But we will eventually, he's sick right now, but we will eventually meet and have a whole day together, just going out to eat and just chilling. He said that we can do that, which will be, his wife will let me do that with him. He's 10 years younger than me. He's 27 and I'm 37. I met him when he was 19. We've known each other for 8 years. I went to San Francisco in 2021 and 2018. I haven't been to San Francisco in 3 years. I need to make a trip there. I've just got to figure out my real ID and stuff. But looking ahead, I'd like to travel some more. I'd like to go back to the Bay Area to see my friends. I'd like to maybe work for TaskRabbit as like a pet sitter and an administrative person. I don't know if I hopefully I would like things like that, but it gave me something to do. I'd like to go back to London and Madrid and see Scott again. And I'd eventually like to move in with my boyfriend. I have this place for another year at least. Sorry. And my rent is staying stable. My rent is staying what it was last year, so it's pretty affordable. It's about the same price of any other good sized apartment. This apartment is about 700 square feet, and I'm very grateful that I have my own place. I had my own place in Hattiesburg when I went to grad school, and my dad paid for that, but it was less than half of what I pay here. I love Nashville. I love traveling. I love my boyfriend Nick. I love all my friends. I keep myself pretty busy. I've been getting up earlier and going to yoga and trying to eat better, and I went to the doctor today and I went to therapy yesterday. I'm trying to stay productive. I feel a little bit manic these days. Just a touch. But anyway, those are my plans for the future, and that is everything that's happened in the past 5 years. I've been meaning to make this video for 5 years. So anyway, I'm Junius, and this is Juice with Junius, and I hope that you enjoyed this video, and I will make another one soon. Love you.